Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to take a first look and page through the Planet of the Apes role-playing game Quick Start from Magnetic Press Play. This is written by Andrew E.C. Goska and E.L. Thomas. This 86-page PDF is pay what you want over at DriveThruRPG. Now, having said that, we're going to swing on over to the other camera because I'm going to share a first look at a physical copy of the Quick Start edition for Planet of the Apes, which you cannot get. And you might be wondering, geez, Jeff, why are you sharing a first look at something I can't buy? And it is because I know a lot of people are very excited about the Planet of the Apes role-playing game, which had a very successful crowdfunding run. And the PDF is available. So I know people are curious about the game. So am I. I had an opportunity to chat with a couple of the fine folks from Magnetic Press Play at Gamehole Con, and they really piqued my interest about this role-playing game, which is saying something, right? I don't think I'm jaded, but still, I was like, wow, really? You guys are doing that? You're doing that? I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So let's take a look at the back here. I'm not going to read all of it, but I will give you a little bit of a peek here. I can't help thinking that somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. Has to be. Colonel George Taylor, ANSA mission commander. This Quick Start edition is just the beginning of your journey across a planet controlled by apes. In addition to adventures and rules for playing pre-generated simians, the role-playing game of the Planet of the Apes core rulebook allows your players to create their own characters. Just choose an ape, then choose an archetype to play. With the former quota system abolished, any ape can have any career, and gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees are just the beginning. You can also assume the roles of mute tribal humans, two factions of mysterious mutants, and the most dangerous creatures of all, the so-called astronauts. Instead of playing within one character group, you might want a more diverse gaming experience. You can even run adventure parties comprised of apes, mutants, and humans working together. Utilizing the magnetic variant of the world-renowned West End Games D6 game system, D6MV, the core rulebook also contains rules and statistics for the following, and so on and so forth. Now, keep in mind, this is the sell sheet info for the core rulebook. This is the Quick Start. So let's take a look. First of all, we've got Chapter 1, a planet where apes evolved from men. Then we have a primate rules primer, combat on the Planet of the Apes, gear and weapons, allies, enemies, extras, and monstrosities. And then we have hunted on the Planet of the Apes. That must be our introductory adventure. Now, normally, I would be skipping pages as I flip through, but because this is a pay what you want PDF over at DriveThruRPG, I'm actually going to flip through each and every page. I may not linger on some, but I do want to get a feel for this game and see the production quality. I thought it was very interesting that Magnetic Press Play decided to print this up for Gamehole Con exclusively. And if you took part in their introductory adventure at Gamehole Con, you actually got a copy of the Quick Start. I thought that was really nice of Magnetic Press Play to do that. What will you find out there? Your destiny. The role-playing game of the Planet of the Apes allows you to portray any one of the classic and distinct quota types within the hierarchy of ape society. Play intellectual chimpanzees, garbed in green and brown, who seek to better ape kind through science and exploration. Become orangutan states apes, robed in tan and orange vestments, whose weapons are philosophical debate, political savvy, and the power of the sacred scrolls themselves. Portray purple panted and leather studded guerrilla soldiers, honor bound to protect Ape City and lead aggressive expansions into new territories. Or maybe you're an ape who defies the old conventions. Be a gorilla academician, an orangutan adventurer, or even a grizzled chimpanzee war veteran. Choices and combinations are yours to make. What else if not an ape? So, once again, we understand that you could play a mute tribal human, a mutant survivor. We have the astronauts. I don't know if the astronauts are going to be included in this. I'm going to take a guess that this is probably going to be just the various different simians that you can take on as we take a peek through that. I mean, it's possible it's not, but I don't think we're going to have all that content for the humans mutants so far. Ape never kills ape. A character of your own. So we've got our persona, you've got motives, remarkable abilities, quirks, fear and madness, mementos, a planet divided. So we've got great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, mutants. Oh, so we are getting some info about the mutants here. Fellowship of the Holy Fallout, the Underdwellers. Here's our humans, just dumb beasts. So this is giving us kind of a breakdown of these without necessarily going into our attributes, skills, things like that. Here's the astronauts. What is a role-playing game? Okay. Talking about the West End Games retro RPG roots with the D6. So we've got the magnetic variant. So we have got dexterity, knowledge, mechanical, perception, strength, and technical. So it says it melds the technical attribute into knowledge and mechanical to create room for willpower. Aha. We have knowledge and mechanical, and then the willpower. Is that how that works? Looks like it. Nice. New combat options and attacks. Rules for auto fire, pulling punches, armor stacking, combat defenses, mental defenses, shake, rattle, and roll. The D6 system makes use of the same six-sided dice you'd find in a typical casino or board game. Magnetic Press Play makes two differently colored sets of alpha omega dice. Every die in the set is numbered 1 to 5, with the sixth side displaying an omega symbol. Each set of 5 dice included in the set includes a special irradiated wild die. So the Primate Rules Primer. If you're coming to the role-playing game of the Planet of the Apes from previous D6 system games like Star Wars the Role-Playing Game, you may notice the attributes are a bit different. If you've already enjoyed a D6 MV game, then this will look very familiar to you. So dexterity, knowledge, mechanical, perception, strength, and willpower. And then it tells us what skills are built on those. Got our die codes. When using an attribute, roll a number of dice equal to its die code, then add together the results on all the dice. The total is compared to a target number to determine whether the roll succeeds or fails. For example, a character with Dex 3D rolls 3 six-sided dice when using their dexterity attribute. If they had Dex 5D, they roll 5 six-sided dice instead. Do you see a +1 and +2 after the die code, like 3D +1 or 4D +2? That means you add that modifier to your total after rolling the dice pool. When you're rolling a skill, you're going to add its die code to the die code of the associated attribute and roll that many dice. So if you had a dex 2d plus 1 and acrobatics 1d, if you're using acrobatics, you're going to roll 3d6 plus 1. Then we got our difficulty numbers. So you're looking to equal or exceed, just double checking yes. Because every once in a while, you need to exceed this number, not just equal it. So we've got from 5, very easy, to 30, extremely difficult. We have success or failure. If you have more than twice the DN in your roll, so if something was very easy and say you had rolled an 11, the level of difficulty for very easy is 5. It's going to tell us our success or failure. The wild die. In every dice pool, there's one special die that can have a dramatic effect on the situation. This is the wild die, and it's always part of the dice pool when making an attribute or skill roll, even if no other dice are rolled. For example, when making a 3D plus 1 dex acrobatics roll, one of the 3 dice is the wild die. If the die code for a roll is 1D, then that one die is the wild die. To distinguish the wild dice from the other dice, inside the one, you have the alpha or omega, because there's the 2 different sets that they offer. So here it just shows the omega. All you really need, though, is a die of a different size or color. Distinguishing the wild die from your other die rolls is important. Whether the roll succeeds or fails, the wild die's result could add an advantage or complication to your current predicament. If the wild die roll is a 6, something advantageous happens in the form of an advantage. We also have exploding dice. It says the wild die is rolled again and the result is added to the total. So if you roll a 6, which is normally the case with exploding dice, regardless of the size of the die, if you roll the highest face, you get to roll it again. So that is the case here. So the alpha is on a 6, the omega is on a 1. So if the wild die is a 1, something disadvantageous happens in the form of a complication. Very nice. Very cool. Pretty easy. The old West End Games D6 system was pretty easy to wrap your head around and jump right on into. Combat could be a little tricky, not terribly so, but for the most part, it is a rules light system. It looks like the role playing game of the Planet of the Apes, which is the official name. I had said Planet of the Apes role playing game, utilizes those same concepts, it looks like. Now, I remember exploding dice. I don't recall a wild die, to be honest, as far as Star Wars, the role playing game. But then again, it has been decades since I looked at that. Maybe it was there. So we've got some skills in brief, dexterity skills, knowledge skills, mechanical skills, perception skills. So I'll give you an example. Some of those: evaluate, gambling, investigate, marksmanship, strength skills, brawl, climb, jump, lifting, stamina, swimming, throwing, willpower, bargain, charm, command, con, grit, intimidation. Have size skills, which will be discussed in the core rule book. Using multiple skills, taking multiple actions. Sometimes a character will want to do 2 things at once, like talking an enemy into surrendering while grappling them, grabbing for a runaway horse's reins while avoiding gunfire, just trying to stab a thieving human more than once. That's great, but trying to do too many things in a round means that each of those things is less likely to succeed. Every basic action in a single round beyond the first reduces the die code of each roll by 1d, whether using the same skill for each roll or a different one. In other words, taking 2 basic actions like running and shooting imposes minus 1d to all rolls. Taking 3 basic actions like running, shooting, and stabbing means minus 2d to all rolls, and so on. That's interesting. I like that. So we've got some common tasks, talking about scale, trusting to luck, combat on the Planet of the Apes. So we've got the combat sequence. I'm going to take a guess. This is more theater of the mind than anything. Set the scene, determine order, decision time, action time, end of round, wash and repeat. So you're going to roll initiative. Looks like we've got surprise in that as well. Declaring your actions, distance and range. So, yes, we do have range bands, range categories point blank, short, medium, long. Weapon classes and range. Two main types of attacks, hand to hand and ranged. Situational attack modifiers, such as cover, high winds, high ground. Movement and combat, damage. So we have different injury levels: stunned, wounded, incapacitated, mortally wounded. So we have a damage die code shown on the weapon. So you roll damage opposed to the defender's strength. It's a quick action for the target. So there's no combined action penalty for this roll. Compare the damage and strength totals, then consult the table below. Determine the degree of injury. Less than or equal to the strength total, they're stunned. If it's strength total times 3 plus 1 or more, then they are mortally wounded. For example, the defender gets a 15 on their strength roll. They are stunned if the damage is 15 or less, wounded if damage is 16 to 30, incapacitated if damage is 31 to 45, mortally wounded if 46 or more. We also have mental trauma, discussion of our injury levels, mental recovery, fatigue, recovering from damage, disease, and trauma. Now we're going to get into our gear and weapons. I love how we have this artwork from the various different, well, inspired by the various different movies. I think that's pretty cool. So we have armor, and then we also have armor stacking. We have armor limits on that as well. And we got our gear and weapons. So some of our ranged weapons examples would be old world hunting bolt action rifle, Sterling Arms model 38 caliber. It's like that's a pistol. Got our melee weapons, modern ape made firearms, ammunition reloading, vehicles. I'm going to tell you right now, there's quite a lot in this quick start. Allies, enemies, extras, and monstrosities. So this must be kind of our bestiary. So we got sample NPCs, cannon fodder, gorilla goon, commoners, flora, monsters. So it's just a kind of a quick little bestiary, which I'm going to take a guess. Those are going to be included in this introductory adventure. So I should point out, I know nothing about this adventure, but if you are a player and you're hoping your game master is picking up the role-playing game of the Planet of the Apes, I would probably recommend tune out now because we're flipping on through. There are going to be some surprises. There's going to be some spoilers, unintentional spoilers. Welcome to the hunt. So it's for 4 to 6 players. I have to say, when I was chatting with the fine gents from Magnetic Press Play, they were telling me about the adventure they were running there at Gamehole Con. And it wasn't like official because it hadn't been run past Disney. But I'm telling you, it sounded awesome. I was like, wow, really? I was like, that sounds really cool. And as I had mentioned earlier in the video, I mean, they really did pique my interest in Planet of the Apes. So I gotta say, I'm really interested in seeing more about this. And I guess there's a lot of stuff they've got planned for the role playing game of the Planet of the Apes. It isn't just going to be, oh, look, we've done a licensed IP and we're going to move on to something else. So I thought that was very cool as well. So it looks like there's a bit to this adventure. That's cool. And then we've got some pre-gen characters. Yep. So we've got chimpanzee, gorilla veteran, gorilla constable, got a lawgiver, a journalist, and a service ape. All right. For being a quick start book that was just printed up just for Gamehole Con, I gotta say, production quality on this is really nice. Very cool. So that's a peek inside the quick start edition of the role playing game of the Planet of the Apes, which once again is available as a pay what you want PDF over at DriveThruRPG. Hopefully, we get an opportunity to take a peek at the core game and get to do a review of it. All right, very nice. Thank you once again to the gents over at Magnetic Press Play for providing me with what is essentially a pretty exclusive product here as far as a printed quick start. That is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. So it'll let you know not only when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.